Good morning, friends, and welcome to Trans India Real People, Real Emotions. We are all aware that the government is taking cleaning up of the environment very seriously, and a lot of measures have been taken towards this. The emission norms of vehicles have seen rapid upgrade, and we are now in the BS6 OBD Phase 2, which is almost at par with European standards. But besides ensuring that new vehicles are cleaner and greener, the government is also in the act of cleaning up older vehicles. The government introduced a scrapping policy some years back, and even though the same is not mandated as of now, there are adequate penalties to run older vehicles. As a result of this, many people are scrapping their vehicles older than 15 years and taking advantage of whatever little incentive is available for them. However, to facilitate scrapping of vehicles, we need a good number of scrapping centers across the country, and considering the number of vehicles that are eligible to be scrapped, we need a large number of scrapping centers. The government has been encouraging manufacturers and others to invest in scrapping centers. In the recent past, we saw some manufacturers set up scrapping centers at strategic locations, and earlier last week, one of India's oldest commercial vehicle dealers set up its scrapping center in Nagpur. Automotive manufacturers has been in the automotive dealership business for 75 years now, and now the company has stepped into vehicle scrapping with the launch of Automotive Renew. Last week, Automotive Renew launched the company's logo virtually. The launch was attended by Mr. Bharat Sanghvi, Mr. DC Upadhyay, Mr. Sachin Sanghvi, and Mr. Aditya Sanghvi. Trans India interacted exclusively with Sachin Sanghvi to know more about Automotive Renew. But first, here are a few excerpts from the launch event.
Today is a very memorable occasion for Automotive Manufacturers Private Limited, especially for my team and myself. A very warm welcome for the digital brand launch of Automotive Renew. What is Automotive Renew? Well, we'll all find that out very soon. I am Sachin Sanghvi and will be covering this event. With me is our chairman, Mr. Bharat Sanghvi, our director, executive director Aditya Sanghvi, and our advisor, Mr. DC Upadhyay. Before we proceed, let's relook at our teaser video, which is doing rounds on social media. Time has come for us to take some significant steps towards our own sustainability, especially for our future generations. I would like to invite Mr. DC Upadhyay, advisor and industry veteran, to throw more light on this.
Let me tell you, friends, change is the only permanent feature. If one does not change, he perishes. Automotive Renew is a commendable step by Automotive Group in this direction, because this does not only relate to the business, it leads to the concern for the environment.
Now, we are very excited and proud to launch the much awaited brand logo of Automotive Renew.
AMPL introduces a sustainability initiative to bring a greener future to our coming generations. Now let's begin with the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. It's now time to visually experience what Automotive Renew is all about.
As per the Central Motor Vehicle rules, all private vehicles are to be re-registered after 15 years for every 5 years subject to fitness test. It attracts green tax which is also payable at the same interval. For commercial vehicles, the rules are more stringent. Incorporated in 1948, Automotive Manufacturers was one of the first automotive assembly unit locally established in India. They started as the importers and assemblers for Leyland UK, as well as the ones who introduced Leyland to India. Our brands: Ashok Leyland, Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki, Kobelco, Kia, Piaggio. Automotive is entering the organized vehicle scrapping space. A Government of India's ESG initiative. Our objective is to reduce the carbon footprint and contribute towards a greener future for our coming generations. We encourage consumers to dispose their scrap vehicles starting from two-wheeler scooters, passenger cars up to 22-wheeler tractor trailers in a scientific and sustainable way through Automotive Renew. Automotive is starting its first RVSF facility in Nagpur with state-of-art machines and infrastructure. Station 1. AC, CNG, and LPG gas recovery done. Station 2. Specialized depollution equipment for removal of engine oils, coolants, fuel tanks and engine assembly. Specialized machine for removal of catalytic converter and silencer. All removed parts from vehicles stored systematically in trolleys and racks for recycling. Tire changing machine for wheel rim separation. Station 3. All exterior parts like doors, lights, bonnets, bootlid removal done. Station 4. Removal of interior parts like seats, dashboards, steering columns, mats and etc. Station 5. Removal and storage of vehicle engine miscellaneous parts, plastic fasteners, windshields, quarter glass, etc. Station 6. Vehicle identification number plate is removed from chassis. Station 7. Plasma cutter is used to cut the vehicle bare shell in pieces in order to fit in the baler machine. Station 8. The pieces are put in the baler and compressed into a smaller size. Baler machine compacts voluminous sheet, metal parts for easy and economical transportation to recyclers. Information Centers of Automotive Renew. Automotive Renew plans to scrap 25,000 vehicles per year at our Nagpur branch. This will create an impact by reduction of 100,000 plus metric tons of carbon dioxide. So what are you waiting for? Join the drive for a greener tomorrow.
So Sachin, automotive has been a legend in the auto industry. Can you take us through the journey?
Thanks, Girish. Thanks for this little opportunity with Trans Topics. Well, automotive is, for me, it's an overwhelming legend. If I have to tell you in a minute, it's very difficult, but I'll try. It's a 75-year-old group. We started in 1948, where we got British Leyland to India, my grandfather. And we graduated to being the largest distributors after Ashok Leyland was formed in 1955. Now everyone knows that story. So now I'm the third generation. So it was my dad who took the reins, and then it's Rajiv's dad, and me, and then there was Pradeep Bhai who came in. And now it's me, my brother, and Rajiv. So we are driving this company at the moment, and 75 years. Being one of the largest in the automobile dealership in India, if not the largest, we have clocked 10,000 crores top line last 2 years in a row. So I think we are going pretty strong in what we are doing. Coming from the automotive journey, we have got brands like Ashok Leyland, which has been our vintage brand. We have the brand like Kia and Kobelco, so in certain other parts of the country. So now we are having more than 250 locations across the country, maybe more. Honestly, don't know the exact count.
You've lost count of it.
But no, it's not fair to say that. But 250 would be a fair number to guesstimate at this for this discussion. And we are doing more than 50 or 60,000 units of automobiles, closer to 70,000 to be very honest, in a year. So that's what a little story from 75-year history.
But tell me, there was a time, I mean, this until I think a few years back, automotive was more known than Ashok Leyland actually was. So people used to relate Ashok Leyland to automotive and vice versa. Is that still the case?
And I think you need to give the answer for that. Not the right thing for me to comment on.
So tell me, Sachin, with the number of automobiles growing on road, there's also the concern about the pollution growing, and then you also have alternate fuels coming in now. So how is automotive handling all of this? What is the thought process?
So to be very honest, these initiatives coming in across the world for alternate fuels, for electrification of automobiles, for having LNG, hydrogen cell, and all these things are as much of a question in my mind as it may be in your mind at this moment. But yes, it's a step in the right direction to get a cleaner fuel, ultimately getting cleaner air for you and me to breathe. And apart from this, there are other initiatives also which are being done under the Government of India scheme, where we would be actively participating. Probably we can take it in the next part of the segment. It's not about only alternate fuels, it's also about how do we depollute what is currently polluting the environment. So,
but what's your sense on alternate fuels? What do you think is the next best fit to diesel?
Well, depending on the applications, it could be LNG for certain application, it could be CNG for certain applications, it could be electric for closed door applications, it could be hydrogen cell if it is, if they are able to crack the code. It could be anything, Girish. Right now, as I told you, this is as much of a question for me as it is for you. But yes, being a little bit more closer to the development that is happening, we feel each and every application will drive which alternate fuel needs to be used.
But as an OEM or as a dealer, does it add burden to you that I have to deal with multiple fuel options now? My customer options go up.
There's no way out. You have to deal with. Life is about change. Change is the only constant. Yes, this is the hour need of the day, and we will have to deal with this.
So as a dealer, how prepared are you to handle these multiple options?
As a dealer, honestly, it's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. It comes to us after a lot of tests have been done, a lot of trials, after the government bodies approving these products and having a reasonable amount of data on the on how these have performed, because that's the OEM's responsibility. And that's why they invest so much money, and they need to increase their prices to take care of these investments as one of the reasons. Not only the input cost increase, but this takes a lot of time and effort. It takes a lot of investment on the side of the OEM to do what they do to develop these alternate fuels. So I feel that by the time it reaches a dealership, the challenges are very limited. It's about training. It's about having the right spares in stock. It's about having the basic equipment that is required to service, these items, and we are good to go. So CNG was a very smooth transition for us. If I have to ask you, we have done LPG in cars, so there was nothing that changed the lives for us. And probably electric also is getting things more simpler. There are only 12 moving parts in an electric car compared to 20,000 in the others. So I don't see any challenge for a dealership.
But do you feel the pinch that with EVs coming in, lesser moving parts, the viability of the dealership comes down? I mean, you get to earn lesser on servicing of a vehicle.
Yeah, it could happen. eventually, but at the same time, then there will be a game about charging points. There would be a game about having, availability of charging revenue. So things will evolve, things will change, and as a dealership, we will have to also. There's only one thing, as I said, which is a constant, is change. And with change, we have to evolve. Just because I can't, or a dealer cannot make revenue out of something, that doesn't mean that you do not go for a better tomorrow. So there has to be a balance. I'm sure the dealers will find a way to strike the right balance for, in the times to come. But giving your specific question on the electric cars thing, it will still take a long time till we have to face this hurdle. Probably the OEMs will have to change the margin structures, hopefully. And they will have to make the business viable for their distributor and their channel partner. And that's the way it will move, ultimately. We are there to stay for a long time. Even the diesel engine is there to stay for a long time.
True that. But in talking of change, there's been, the government had come up with a scrapping mandate for vehicles.
Yeah.
Now that also necessitates the need to have scrapping facilities. How are you contributing to this ecosystem?
So that's a very pertinent question, and I would like to answer this in two parts. One is, for 20 years I've been managing the dealership space, where we have been thinking about selling more parts, selling more oil, selling more vehicles, getting the numbers, getting more people to do this, investing in more locations for this, and creating a huge carbon footprint over the entire spectrum of this entire initiative. It's our bread and butter, it's our livelihood. So it's a couple of years back, somewhere it struck me that how we can give it back to the society by probably making it carbon neutral exercise. How can a dealership become carbon neutral? So we started with trying to first of all have solar panels available wherever possible in our dealership. So there have been 3 locations where we are completely on solar now. So one is up and running. By the time we started that location, the power consumption went up. So now we are using both the grid and solar. And there are 2 more locations which we are planning to make it into solar. And whilst we did this, we have always had a passion for doing the decarbonizing or the depolluting of vehicles. So that's where we made an application to the Government of India through the Transport Commissioner's Office that we would be interested in setting up a RVSF, which is a Registered Vehicle Scrappage Facility in Nagpur. So which is about to be kicked off maybe in the next 30 to 45 days with everything almost ready, but maybe some small approvals still pending. So this is where we start a new journey, where we would like to have scrappage of vehicles as our next large goal. This is from our understanding with the Prime Minister's Narendra Modi's initiative to have a pollution-free India, pollution mukt Bharat. So that's where it motivated us to try to set this field, which is not very different from what we do, and we have the domain experience and knowledge of managing scrap in our dealerships through our body repair centers, through the oil disposal. We also have experience of understanding the automobile in a better way, having parts distribution knowledge, where we could utilize certain used parts as per the government norms to give it at a better rate to, this is where we could add value to the transporter or the consumer by having good quality used parts available in the market, which could also be a way of, giving back to them something which would be at a more affordable price. So that's one of the things that we are planning to initiate immediately, and then we will, once we are settled, we will be looking at more such opportunities.
We will interact with Sachin after this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकेट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकेट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की, प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकेट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकेट ऐप।
स्कूल बच्चों का दूसरा घर होता है और इस घर का ख्याल रखना एक प्रिंसिपल के लिए आसान नहीं। पढ़ाई के साथ बच्चों का आराम, उनकी सेफ्टी, छोटी से छोटी चीज़ मेरी प्रायोरिटी है। वैसे ही स्कूल बस चुनना भी एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन था। पेरेंट्स का पीस ऑफ माइंड, मैनेजमेंट का भरोसा और बजट साथ लिए चलना पड़ता है। इसीलिए कभी कभी फर्म भी बनना पड़ता है। आखिर कोई अपने बच्चों की जिम्मेदारी मुझे दे रहा है तो कोई बजट की। लेकिन इतने सालों में एक चीज़ समझ आई है, अगर सही डिसीजन लें तो सबसे ज़्यादा प्यार भी प्रिंसिपल को ही मिलता है।
चुनिए महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बसेस। यह है मजबूत ट्यूबुलर स्ट्रक्चर, एंटी लॉक ब्रेकिंग, एंटी रोल बार, पैराबोलिक सस्पेंशन, IMAX, वाइडर सीट्स और बेस्ट इन क्लास माइलेज के साथ बच्चों के लिए सेफ और बाकी सबके लिए सबसे स्मार्ट चॉइस, महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बस।
Welcome back to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. We will be talking today to Sachin Sanghvi, the force behind Automotive Renew.
So, where is your first RVSF coming up?
Nagpur.
And what is it going to be called?
Well, it's something that we will unfold very soon. Although automotive brand name will be a part of it, so we will unfold soon.
But tell me, what does it take to set up an RVSF from a very layman's point of view?
So RVSF first of all cannot be set up by anyone and everyone. There are certain experience guidelines that are required, certain size guidelines that are required, and certain I would say domain experience guideline that are required. So all in all, it requires some piece of land. It requires a shed like you require in a workshop. It requires certain kind of specialized equipment which helps in disposal or creating scrap disposal more easy. So it has a big SOP which is available on the MORTH portal. If we want, we can speak more about it. But it's basically a specialized at the moment quite a specialized requirement.
So what is the bigger challenge, to scrap the vehicle or to actually make use of that scrap and make sure that the scrap gets out in a systematic manner? What is more challenging?
So everything is challenging. It's a completely new domain and there is no data point in India for how this is to be done. Since it's very new, very few Tata rewires have been established and they're still trying to get on their feet, from what I understand from my friends who have invested in that. And it will take its time and we are ready for giving that time to stabilize and establish the initiative. But coming back to your question, well, I feel I'll be in a better position to answer it after a year of operation.
Okay. So this is your initiative or is it driven by any OEM?
So it is our own initiative and we intend to work with all the OEMs and all the dealers and all the government bodies who are probably looking at supporting this the environmental approach of cleaning up the polluting kind of vehicles. And it's an initiative by automotive, purely automotive.
So typically, how is the process? Like me as a customer who has a a car or a truck which is 15 years old, how do I get to you? What is the process going to be like?
So basically, we will have quite a few collection centers and we will have a digital presence and there will be an online application process which will be available for a customer to apply for scrapping his vehicle. Mm-hmm. It will be linked to the entire Vahan portal and it will be done through quite a strong technically digitally sound platform. So I think we will have enough opportunities for you and me or any layman who is willing to scrap his vehicle to approach people like us very easily.
Okay. So he comes to you. What happens then? What is the process like?
So he comes to us, we inspect the vehicle, we check the RTO record of the vehicle, and it's basically not inspecting for how good or bad the vehicle is. This vehicle is sold on a weight basis, but what we need to check is, whether the RTO record is clean, there is no criminal background, there is no other issues, how a financier would do a
Right.
check. So all those basic checks would be required to be done. And once we accept that vehicle, then we have the authority on the Vahan portal to cancel the number plate and scrap that vehicle. And once that is done, it becomes a part of our stock. We dismantle it and we try to dispose of the material with all the different stakeholders. The good part is that the guidelines are that we have to sell all the material to environmentally approved vendors. And so then, it's something that somebody cannot just come and pick up a plastic because he's paying me. He has to be approved by the government. He has to have a reprocessing unit at his back to create it into pellets, or we have the option of doing it. So we can do that going forward. If it's steel, we'll approach some foundries, we will go and meet them. We will try to do, some online auction bidding. There are portals. So we will try to do as much digital as possible. So there is this website called M Junction, which helps us connect with all the steel buyers of the country, and through the bidding process this is how the other RVSFs are also doing for steel. So there are aluminium vendors who come and reprocess aluminium, there are copper and whatnot, so oil. So similarly we will be using all these approved vendors to dispose of our material.
So basically you break up a vehicle into different parts, and depending on what the part is, you sell it off.
So some part of the parts can be even sold as used parts, so that we can sell to the open market.
Okay.
But the other major items will have to go back to authorized recyclers.
So the customer gets a certificate of scrapping.
Yeah.
What are the advantages or what are the benefits he gets in lieu of that
So
certificate?
at this point, for a year or so, the government is not going to give the incentive beyond a year or so. The incentive will be to, if you scrap a car, you will get up to 10, in Maharashtra it is up to 10% of the RTO charges are waived. In some states it is 15, some it is 10, some it is 20, and at the most it is 25%. So that's the only benefit that a customer gets. But the good thing is that it's a tradable certificate. You can sell that certificate off. Yeah. The customers, in case you have depolluted an Alto, you can buy a Range Rover and still get that 10%. On a Range Rovers, it's not an absolute amount, it's a percentage off.
Okay.
So that can be utilized in that manner.
But Sachin, coming from a background of Ashok Leyland, I mean, talking very specifically on trucks,
Yeah.
what does a transporter or a trucker gain out of this? Why should he scrap his truck?
So he should, we will be having on our digital platform a lot of educational material as to what depollution of hazardous automobiles can mean for your future, for your environment, for living in this society going forward. So even that has to be given a big weightage, apart from just a financial benefit or loss. Well, financially, I wouldn't be in the right position to comment on what a transporter will gain or lose out of it, because that business call he has to take, and that business call we have to take in our offer to him. So we will try our best to make it sustainable for all parties. But the idea is to get them to understand how depolluting the environment is so much important for our future generations. So that's the bigger role that we have to play in explaining to our clients, because when we put a vehicle out of use, when we as a scrapping unit buy a vehicle, we have to put it out of use. We cannot pay them an amount which they will get when they are selling it to somebody who is going to use it for business. So there is a distinction that has to be drawn out between the two, although we can try to see how that gap can be moderated or maybe made logical for the customer. But at the same time, it's difficult for me to comment at this point in time. Again, maybe a year down the line I can talk to you with some data and we can have a more comprehensive discussion on that point.
But I've been asking this to a lot of OEMs also. the government made it mandatory to shift from BS3 to BS4, then BS4 to 6 happened, and then 6 OBD2 happened. Scrapping as a voluntary measure, I don't know how much traction it is getting. Do you think it needs to be a mandatory thing that 15 years and then you got to get rid of a vehicle? Should that be the norm to push this initiative?
It has to be a norm somewhere. If it's not 15 today, it's 20.
Right.
If you see 20 beyond, this norm is
Correct.
exists.
50 to 20 you can stretch it.
So
Yes.
depending on the more macroeconomics of the country, I think government will have more data to understand as to which is the right period. It is 15 or 17 or 20, or it needs to be stepped up or stepped down, with keeping in mind the financial as well as the ecological, goals that they have. But yes, at some point in time there has to be something mandatory.
But again, from a trucker's point of view, with the road infrastructure getting better, the new trucks getting better, where you can get more efficiency and run it more, is there a need to actually get rid of older trucks? Will that help the logistics cost on the whole?
Well, logistics cost on this, so at the moment, I again told you, seeing the data, I can talk to you maybe year down the line, but scrapping, this is an international norm. It's not that we are doing something which is alien to India.
Yes.
And always, when the number of vehicles increase, however depolluting, your vehicle is, you have seen that the vehicle numbers have grown at the rate of 5 to 10% a year on year. So even if you say that my vehicles are not polluting as per se, but my number of vehicles have tripled, or my number of vehicles have become 5 times with a better technology, I will look at the greenhouse effect based on 5x of vehicles available at a better technology. It will be very similar to what we are today. So, or it may not be so much off, depending on how the rate of growth of automobiles happens. So at some point, the scrappage will be the only way to answer this question. Today when you go to Delhi, or when you go to some of these cities in winter, it's very difficult to even breathe at point in time. So, this is only going to get worse. And if you want to do something about it, automobiles are a major contributor to this in these urban areas. We need to do something about the automobile scrapping policy.
In talking of your facility, Nagpur comes first. How do you plan to ramp up this whole network of scrapping?
So it's our observation year. We will observe things, how they move based on, the sustainability of the Nagpur project. We will look at more locations across the state, maybe in a phase 2 manner. And after that, we'll decide whether we want to go beyond Maharashtra or not. Maybe it's too premature for me to comment on that right now. But yes, we will try to cover more footprint in Maharashtra.
But how many vehicles can your facility handle? Do you have a projection for that?
Yeah. So the current facility, which is our slightly boutique facility, can handle about 15 to 18,000 vehicles in a year. And the larger one, which we are talking about, which will come in the outskirts of Nagpur, spread over 5 acres, it can take up to 25 to 30,000 units a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will you also be having advisory, guys to talk to transporters or truckers who would come in for scrapping their trucks? This is how we can help you. This
Absolutely.
is what.
So as I said, on a digital platform, we will have a lot of educational material and trying to benchmark what happens across the globe, why it happens, and what are the reasons why they should be part of the initiative. So it's not, as I told you, it's financially, it may not be the best option for the client, but yes, ecologically, they will have to consider that as a significant weight going forward.
Listen, how does it feel? On one hand, you're selling vehicles, and on the other hand, you're getting them out of the system as well. So you're actually completing the entire loop.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
So once we do it, it will feel great, I think. We are on the corner of doing it.
That was our interaction with Sachin. While scrapping vehicles still seems a new concept in India for many people, we foresee this segment growing at a fast pace. And if somewhere down the line, Mr. Nitin Gadkari and the government decide to make scrapping mandatory for vehicles over 15 years, you will see long queues of vehicles at these scrapping centers. So keep an eye on the age of your vehicles and also on the nearest scrapping center near you, including the network of Automotive Renew. We will be back again next week with another very interesting interaction. You have been watching Trans India, real people, real emotions. Until next week, stay safe and drive safe. Jai Hind.